This not only has 7 sides, it has 8 pivot points. I want you to find where the 1, 2, and the 3 come together. Find where the 1, 2, and 3 come together and put your finger like right there. And then find where the 4, 5, and 6 come together and put your thumb right there. So what you're literally doing is you are doing this. All right? And then I want you to pivot it. See, pivot it. When something pivots, it literally is moving, isn't it? What you really want to do is you want to take that impossible thing and you want to begin to pivot it. You want to begin to move it. You want to begin to take it off a dead center and you want to begin to pivot it. Pivot starts with what letter? P. Point starts with what letter? P. So all your lessons here are going to be double P lessons. Pivot points, double P lessons. All right? How many pivot points are on this die? 8. Yes, you're absolutely right. There's 8 pivot points. So there's 7 sides and 8 pivot points. Pivot starts with P. Point starts with P. Double P lessons. Your first lesson is paper and pencil. Paper and pencil. It's the moment in time that you take a sheet of paper and a pencil and you begin to write down what you've been thinking about as you have committed to do your what? Best on that one thing, and you have had an open mind, right? And you begin to talk to other people and get some outside advice. When you take that sheet of paper and you begin to write down those things that you begin to thought about as your thought process has expanded, okay? You begin to write those things down. That's the moment in time that you literally give birth to organized thought. You literally give birth to organized thought. Does that make sense? It stops running around in your head like this, okay? And it comes out of it. You cause the intangible to become tangible. Now, one of the really cool things is I want you to understand that the first step in creation, maybe not the first step, but a critical step in creation is paper and pencil. Look around this room here, and I want you to see anything in this room and just tell me what it is. What do you see, Bob?
Chair.
Chair, okay. Now, this chair, it actually started, and that chair's a little hard to get to, but a chair actually started in somebody's what? Mind, in their imaginations. But before it became a chair, before it was actually designed like this, they took a paper and pencil and drew it out, right? Whether that was on a computer or regardless of how that thought process came from the inside of them to the out. What about this watch? This watch started in somebody's what? Mind. But it passed through a sheet of paper in the process of being created. If you begin to look at Toastmasters as an organization, as a club, somebody thought about it, right? But then they literally took a paper and pencil and they began to draw it out. They began to design that thinking process. Every business, every entity, every single thing that's been created, whether it be this, all passes through a sheet of paper in the process of being created. So what that tells you is that if you want to create something in your life, if you want to begin to cause something to change or something to begin to pivot, to begin to move, to begin to pivot, you're going to need to take a sheet of paper and pencil, and you're going to need to take it from the inside of you and finally get it to what?
The outside.
Get it to the outside. You literally want to move it from there. Once you have that information on the outside, then you can begin to review it and you can begin to categorize it. You can actually begin to get people to begin to join your team or to help you in your efforts to get this one thing done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Now, we're going to go to this impossible thing because that's what I promised to show you. Side 4. I want you to look at side 4 for just a moment. Once we've taken our information and we've written it down into categories, we're going to literally onto a sheet of paper. My drawing is not too terrific there, but we're going to begin to take all the information that we know and we're going to begin to break it into 4 categories. Okay, we're going to look at our sheets of paper. We may have, let's say for an example that we had wrote down all of our ideas on 3x5 cards. On 3x5 cards. And so we got 100 3x5 cards. Now we're going to take those and we're going to shuffle them into 4 different categories. All right? Our first category is going to be our trash. Has anybody ever had an idea and when you look back at it you decided it wasn't very good? I've got a lot of those. Okay? When I really begin to look at it, when I do the pros and cons on it, this may be more of a con than it is a pro. All right? So you can quickly eliminate things. You want to begin to reduce the clutter. You want to begin to take your thoughts and eliminate what you can real quick, real easy, so that you've got less things that you're going to have to deal with. Now you're going to take the balance of everything that's left, and I may have taken those 3x5 cards, I may have thrown 70 of them in the garbage, and I may only have 30 left. It doesn't really matter what that number is as long as I've gotten rid of those. And I'm not really throwing them in the garbage per se. That I'm literally taking that information and I'm throwing it in a round can that I may end up keeping. Because I may want to look back, because what I had as far as an idea, when we do brainstorming or green light thinking, a lot of times we come up with a lot of ideas that are maybe good ideas, but they're so far out in the future or so they're just not for this time. And so at some point we may want to come back. If you had that idea, if it at least ran across your thought, it may not be a horrible idea unless it was killing your wife. Or your husband in this particular case, right? And hopefully that one got perfect, right? But you're going to take them and you're going to break them down into three other categories. Now, your top one is going to be doable. What is doable? What can I do right now with the resources I presently have? You know, if we want to go down to the store, okay, let's say we want to go down to Best Buy, and we want to get a big screen television. We want the biggest thing that they have, you know, probably one that's going to be in the $2,000, $3,000 range. It's going to be huge. It's going to be beautiful. That's what we want to do. All right? If we take that task now and we begin to look at it, it may be doable for us to go down to Best Buy and look. However, it may not be doable for us to bring it home because we may not have the what? It may not have a what? Money, cash, okay, or whatever the case may be. We may not even have a vehicle to put it in. So we know that it is possible. It's possible for us to go down to Best Buy and get a big television, but it may not be doable. Okay? It is doable for us to drive down there and to see what's available. It is maybe doable for us to get on the internet and do some searching around, for us to begin to get the education, for us to begin to develop the knowledge about that, but it may not be doable. It may not be doable, so it's only possible if we don't have the cash. You know, if we had the cash, we know that we could do it. Now, there's another pile over here, and this pile is called the what? The impossible, because that's what we talked about getting done. The impossible. And this could be the impossible dream, because nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. It may be just a big dream. Have you ever had a dream or a vision that was so big that you didn't want to share it with other people because they laugh at you? Is that right? And a lot of times as a kid, what ends up happening is we forget about those things, or we don't pursue that because everybody would discourage us. Everybody said, you know, get a life, you know, all those type of things. And so we have the dream, and I'm going to encourage you to dream the impossible dream. To realize that you can do the impossible regardless of what it is. Even if it is having a good marriage. Getting along with your wife. Even if it is interviewing a CEO at a very large corporation so that you can prepare a speech that you want to deliver in particular. So you may want to see this particular person. You may want to do this. Doesn't matter what it is. You're going to have some things that would seem impossible because they're over what? Because they're overwhelming. Because they're overwhelming. That's the only reason they seem to be impossible. All right? Now, let's go back to the other two piles here. The doable and the possible. Okay? The only thing, there's a key word right in here, and that's if. The only thing that stands in between something being possible and something being doable is if. If you had the money, then you could go to Best Buy and bring a television home, couldn't you? Right? If you had the vehicle to put it into, if this, if that, then every single thing that's possible, it only takes you resolving the if for it no longer to be possible. As soon as you get rid of this if, what happens to this? It moves from what pile to what pile? It's going to move to the doable pile. That's exactly right. When we eliminate this if, when we figure out how to get rid of the if we get rid of that if, then it literally is going to move from the possible pile to the doable pile. Every single thing that we want to accomplish. Good morning. Glad to have you with us. Every single thing that we want to accomplish, we realize that we can accomplish, we can do that possible if we get rid of the if. Now, the task of the doable job, that pile, the thing that you want to do, is its goal or its objective is to get rid of the what? It's to get rid of the ifs. Look at side 5 for just a second. What you literally have to do, if I want to lose 20 pounds, then I know what I need to do. I can literally pick up my gold die and I can realize I'm going to have to cut out the donuts. I shouldn't be eating the donuts. I shouldn't be doing this. I already know the things that I should do. The biggest challenge that I face personally is that I already know what to do, but I don't what? I don't do it. I don't do it. I already know what to do. I already got a general idea. I don't need a lot of extra knowledge. The gold die is not about gaining a lot of extra knowledge. It's about taking the knowledge that you already have to organize it in a systematic approach so that you can put the knowledge that you have into action. Make sense? All right. So, side 5 is going to teach us that we're going to have 5 priorities all the time in our doable pile here. And as we do the doable, let's say I want to get that television. And because I want to get that television, what I'm literally going to do is go to what? Go to work, right? I may have to save. I may have to take and have a yard sale. Get rid of some of the junk that I already got. Okay? May have to clean out the mini storage that I'm paying somebody to store my junk for the things that I keep paying and paying and paying and paying that I could have replaced, and take that money that I get from selling that stuff and put it together with the money that I'm saving from not paying that mini storage. I can tell you this, I'm in the mini storage business, okay? I see people do this all the time. Probably 80% of people or more that have mini storages end up spending more money on storing their stuff than if they would have just gotten rid of it. But please, don't stop using the mini storage business, okay? But literally what ends up happening is we can begin to think through, if we go back to what Napoleon Hill says, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, they can achieve. So literally what occurs as we begin to think about it, as we begin to, when we're in doubt, we just go 1, 2, 3. Every single thing, in order to get rid of this if, how do we get rid of this if? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We got a problem. We realize that one problem can be subdivided to, all right? And we keep subdividing. We keep working on that one problem, boom, 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 and we get rid of this if. Get rid of this if. Get rid of this if. As soon as we get rid of this if, then it moves to the doable pile, and we just do it. Let's go down there and get us a television. Let's go down there and accomplish whatever it is that we want to accomplish. But the title of this speech or workshop, or whatever you want to call it, was what? Tell me. Doing the impossible, right? It's easier than you think. Doing the impossible. What causes something to be impossible? It's we said a moment ago that it was over what? Overwhelming. Really, anything that seems to be impossible, the only reason it's possible, it becomes possible if this, if this, if this, if this, if this. In other words, we realize that what seems to be impossible is not impossible if we take care of this, 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 right? It's identifying the ifs. So no matter what we're facing in our life, we've got to begin to identify the ifs And if we don't know what the ifs are, we're sitting in here, we need to go talk to what? We need to go talk to counsel. We need to go talk to somebody. If we don't even know what the ifs are, we can figure out what the ifs are. And if we can figure out what the ifs are, then literally what we can do is we can begin to have a what type of mind? An open mind. And we can begin to go out and get outside knowledge and information so that we literally expand our understanding so we know what it's going to require for us to get rid of what? The if. And that's all we have to do. The moment that we get rid of the ifs, or the moment actually that we clearly identify what the ifs are in the impossible, we take the impossible, if we can clearly identify those 5, 6, 7 ifs, 10 ifs, whatever they are, when we can identify those ifs, that means that we can move it from the impossible pile to what? To the possible pile. It doesn't mean that the impossible is doable yet. It only means that we was able to take it from our impossible pile and move it to our possible. And when we move something to our possible pile, then we can begin to figure out what it is that we have to do to eliminate one if at a time. One if at a time. And who's responsible to get rid of the ifs? We are. We are. Anything we can imagine, anything we want to accomplish, we can accomplish by getting rid of one if at a time. One if. I want you to look at side 6 one more time. But this time when you see it, I want you to lay it down like this. I want you to lay it down like this. You see this 6? Now, this, have you ever seen those? Well, let me ask you, when we saw it like this, it reminded us of what were we standing up in our lives? Columns, right. 2 pillars. We're standing these pillars up in our lives. These columns are standing up in our lives, or pillars standing up. And it represents us doing our what? Best. When we turn it like this, have any of you ever seen those Viking ships, those old ships where they'll have a double set of oars sticking in the water? Have you ever seen that? You know, in the old Viking ships, it's a very interesting story. It's not like you would, every single person that was on an oar there was nobody sitting up front barking out orders. Okay? Every single person that had an oar in their hand was doing what? Rowing. They were rowing. They were working. How many sides does this have? 7 sides. How many days in a week? 7. What are we supposed to do on the 7th day? Rest. 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 So what do we do the other 6? We work. If we will work on any one thing and we're committed to do our best, then that one thing that we work on for 6 days will begin to what? Begin to pivot, it begin to change, it will begin to move. 6 days a week, we work with everything that's inside of us. But you have to learn to rest on the 7th. You have to learn to take a break. It's only in stopping that you have the ability to what? To work or to start all over again. Okay? It's the stopping. Have you ever had you ever tried to solve a problem and you couldn't figure it out? You couldn't figure it out no matter what you did. It just, you just couldn't do it. And you just threw up your hands and you left it. And when you came back, what? Oh, it's still there, okay. It was still there. But hopefully sometimes it just comes to you. It's like, wow, why didn't I see that before? It's because you needed to rest. You needed to renew. You needed to have that mental break. If you're going to do the impossible, you're going to have to learn to rest. You're going to have to learn to give yourself a mental break. As you do that, literally what occurs is that you're releasing all of that stress. You're realizing that you don't have anything to worry about. Because that problem, remember that problem over here? You realize it's not a problem, it's just a situation. It's just a situation that you're dealing with. And as long as you're doing your what? Your best on that one situation, can you ask anything else of yourself? No, you can't. So what do you have to worry about? Nothing. As long as you are doing your best, you don't have anything to worry about. Because you know you were alive 10 years ago. You were alive 20 years ago. You were alive 30 years ago. And all of us has made it through all those different things, right? Okay. And so you'll make it. It's not going to overwhelm you. It's really not going to overwhelm you. It only seems like it overwhelms you because you label it as a problem. And because you label it as a problem, you feel like you got to carry around all this worry. And when you're carrying around all this worry, then that stress gauge is going, right? So literally what we want to do, we want to get rid of the what? Stress in our lives. We get rid of the stress in our lives. And the way that we do that is we get rid of the worry. We deal with the problems, the impossible things, one thing at a time. How much time we got here?